The Restoration. So now we come to the year 1660, and Charles II has been recalled from France. If you remember, in the year 1649, when his father was beheaded, he, along with his brother James II, had to go to France with their mother, Princess Henrietta Maria. And after the Commonwealth period, when Oliver Cromwell died, his son Richard Cromwell became Lord Protector but could not manage, so he resigned. After that, Charles II was recalled to England. He had to declare that he was a Protestant in order to ascend the English throne. And he is now going to become the ruler of England, and all his rights are going to be restored to him. Restoration is not just the restoration of the royal rights to Charles II. You have to remember that during the Commonwealth period, monarchy was abolished. There was Commonwealth and there was a parliamentary democracy. So after the Commonwealth period, when Charles will ascend the throne, now you will have an Anglican monarchy. Anglican meaning Protestant. So Charles II has to declare himself a Protestant, and of course monarchy is being restored. With the restoration of Charles II, monarchy is being restored. The Stuart line to which Charles belonged, that whole line is going to be restored. Actually, James I of England, who was James VI of Scotland, was James Stuart. He was James Stuart. And after him, his son was Charles Stuart, Carolinage, Charles Stuart. And Charles's son, Charles II, and James II, these people are also Stuarts. So the Stuart dynasty is coming back to the throne. Monarchy is coming back. The Stuart line is getting restored. Charles II is getting restored. All this is implied in the restoration. Roughly, you can look at this period from 1660 to 1688. And the year 1688 is important for three things. First, a major poet died. John Bunyan died in the year 1688. A major poet took birth. Alexander Pope, of the Rape of the Lock fame, he took birth in 1688. And third, what is known in English history as the Bloodless Revolution or the Glorious Revolution, which we will be covering, that too happened in the year 1688. Now, in the year 1660, Charles II came to the throne. And from 1664 to 1666, you had the Great Plague. This happened from 1664 to 1666. These are the years of the Great Plague. Then you had the Great Fire of London, 1666. This is the Great Fire of London. Then, in the year 1673, the Test Act will be passed. We'll come to that presently. The Test Act will be passed. And in 1678, you have the Popish plot. This much at least you should know about this period. The major writers of this period, if you look at the major writers, you will find Samuel Butler. Samuel Butler, Hudibras fame, and you have John Dryden. You also have John Bunyan, The Pilgrim's Progress. And you have Andrew Marvell. These are some of the literary figures of this age. You have John Milton, you have John Bunyan, you have John Dryden, you have Samuel Butler, and you have Andrew Marvell. All these people belong to this period. Now, Charles II had ascended the throne, that is all right. But Charles II did not have an heir to the throne. He had a number of illegitimate children, number of illegitimate sons. In fact, he had a terrible reputation, Charles II. He was a licentious king. But there was no heir to the throne. The people of England, those who were Protestants and those who were occupying positions of power in the royal court, they were worried. Their worry was that if Charles II died without an heir, his brother James II would ascend the throne, and James II was a Roman Catholic. So if a Roman Catholic ruler ascended the throne, and nobody could stop that because he was next in line. If Charles II died without having an heir, automatically his brother James II would ascend the throne, and James II was a Roman Catholic. Now the people of England were not ready for this. Those who were in positions of power, they would not have it. They wanted that something should happen and some Protestant ruler should occupy the throne. And when you go through the text Absalom and Achitophel by John Dryden, you will get a very, very clear picture about this. I'll try and cover this in a separate video. For the time being, what you need to know is that there was already a state of unrest within the country. The people of England were worried and they didn't want this Roman Catholicism to come. So there was a lot of, a lot of cold there were differences between the Roman Catholics and the Protestants, and people were becoming loud about it. When the Great Fire of London happened, the Roman Catholics were able to say that, this has happened because the Protestants are committing all these wrongs. And the Protestants blamed the Roman Catholics. They said, you started the Great Fire. You did it on purpose. And so now the Roman Catholics, they had not done anything on purpose, but they got to hear all this. So they started saying that because you people are persecuting us and you are behaving this way with us, so the Great Fire of London happened. In the year 1673, the Test Act was passed. What is this Test Act? If you want public office, you want a position in the government, something to do with the royal court or some form of government service or something like that, you would have to declare that you are a Protestant and that you are not a Roman Catholic. The person was expected to declare that. This was the Test Act. You have to declare that you are a Protestant and that you are not a Roman Catholic, and you do not accept the tenets of Roman Catholicism. One of them was the transubstantiation, which is, the bread and wine which is offered in the name of the Holy Communion. And the Roman Catholics, of course, they believed in it, they wanted it, but the Protestants were expected to declare that they did not accept this. They did not accept this. They did not accept this bread and wine and this whole thing about what the Holy Communion entailed. That will be going into religion, so I don't want to go into it. All you need to understand is that the Roman Catholics will not say no to bread and wine because it symbolizes the body and the blood of Christ. They will not say no to it, but the Protestants are expected to say that we do not take it this way and we will not accept this. So the Protestants were expected to declare that. This was the Test Act. If they passed this test of saying no, then they can be considered for public office. Otherwise, not. Now, this began in 1673 and it will continue even after the death of Charles II. When his brother James II becomes the king, then this Test Act will be dissolved. In the year 1678, there was a conspiracy, and that conspiracy is known as the Popish plot. From the word Popish, you know that it has something to do with the Roman Catholic faith, because the Pope, Roman Catholic faith. So now, a weaver, a humble weaver by profession, Titus Oates, he framed a plot, a false plot, and he blamed the Roman Catholics, and he said that the Roman Catholics are plotting to kill Charles II so that Charles II dies and the Roman Catholic ruler James II quickly ascends the throne. So the Roman Catholics are interested because they want their king James II to come to the throne. So they are planning and plotting to kill Charles II. There was no such plan afoot, but Titus Oates actually fabricated this. He was able to convince a lot of people. There was a lot of discussion about this, and this thing spread like wildfire, and all these things happened in the year 1678. You find a reference to all this in Absalom and Achitophel. That is a text which you should absolutely know. You should know John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress. You should know John Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel, Mac Flecknoe, his plays, which are very important, several of his poems, all these things you should know. And after the death of Charles II, now what happened was, Charles II died and his brother James II ascended the throne. Now nobody could do anything to stop this, but the people waited and they were patient, and they thought it's all right. This man has daughters, he doesn't have a son. So once he dies, then we'll be able to do something. We'll have a Protestant ruler. But James II had a son quite late in life. And now the people of England couldn't bear it. They just couldn't bear it, and they couldn't bear the idea of a Roman Catholic king after James II, because it has been the practice in England that even if the heir is 2-year-old, he will be the ruler. Somebody will rule in his name, but it will be a Roman Catholic rule. And so the people were not ready for it. So what they did was, quietly, they plotted and they approached the daughter of James II. James II had a daughter who was married, Mary, and her husband William. They approached this couple and they invited them to come to England and become king and queen, because Mary is the daughter, so she would also have to be on the throne. And those people were Protestants. So in the year 1688, all this happened. Meanwhile, John Dryden had been made Poet Laureate of England in 1668, and he continued. In 1688, however, he is going to lose the Poet Laureateship because he has turned Roman Catholic. He has turned Roman Catholic. As long as James II is there, it's all right. But as soon as the daughter and son-in-law come here and they become the rulers, what will happen is they will come here. James II will come to know about it and he will flee the castle. He won't even put up a fight. That is why this is known as the bloodless revolution. He just fled. He left the castle, he disappeared, he ran away. So there was no bloodshed. A revolution had happened without any bloodshed. It is known as the Glorious Revolution, and this happened in the year 1688. Now, John Dryden will lose his poet laureateship in 1689 when William and Mary come to the throne, and Thomas Shadwell will be appointed poet laureate. And so you will have all those satirical pieces, Macflecknoe, Shadwell, all those things. Because Dryden has been removed, he has lost his offices, and Shadwell has been appointed in his place.